Gentlemen, I welcome you all to the day's program by Center for Knowledge Sovereignty. I also extend a warm welcome to our distinguished speaker of the day, Air
Part to go deep inside and carry out the fight. That is when the myth was broken. Okay, so
he is always directly proportional to the money, and we can build that. That is not a big question. So,
good day and good evening. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you all to the day's program by Center for Knowledge Sovereignty. I also extend a warm welcome to our distinguished speaker of the day, Air Marshal Anil Khosla sir. Thank you for joining us. It is our pleasure to have you with us for the second time now. Before I introduce the speaker, I will briefly introduce our think tank, CKS. CKS is a non-partisan, nationalistic think tank established more than a decade back with focus on the spheres of information technology, geospatial technology, public policy, research, and national security, along with geopolitics. CKS has been a pioneer in spreading awareness about data sovereignty and cybersecurity at strategic, political, and national levels. Do visit our website www.cksindia.org to know more or for regular updates. Requesting everyone to follow us on our LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter channels as well to stay updated. Over the past few years, CKS is privileged to host on its platform several discussions and roundtables in person. And since COVID-19, we have also initiated virtual discussions. Thus Spake Generals is one such program which has completed 4 seasons with huge viewership. Today, we are happy to have our second talk of the 5th season of our highly acclaimed flagship webinar, Thus Spake Generals. In the last 4 seasons, we had the privilege of hosting excellent strategic speakers and thought leaders on our platform, such as Lieutenant General PR Shankar, Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, Lieutenant General Ata Hasnain, Vice Admiral Sekhar Sinha, Air Marshal SS Soman, AVM Arjun Subramaniam, Air Marshal Anil Khosla, who is also with us today, Lieutenant General D S Hooda, Lieutenant General Zamiruddin Shah, Vice Admiral Anil Chopra, Lieutenant General Rakesh Sharma, Rear Admiral Sudarshan Shrikhande, Air Marshal D Choudhary, Ambassador Ashok Sajjanhar, Lieutenant General Shokin, Lieutenant General Vinod Bhatia, Lieutenant General Vinod Khandare, and Lieutenant General Satish Dua. In this season also, we have an impressive lineup of acclaimed speakers. Please note that the views expressed by the speakers on this platform are their individual views, and CKS is merely a platform hosting these talks. I request all audience to put their questions in the chat box, addressing it to AVM Pranay Sinha at the end of the talk so that the speaker is not disturbed. Please keep the question short, crisp, and relevant to the topic. We are currently live on the Facebook page of CKS, and this talk will also be available on CKS YouTube channel shortly, along with all the other social media handles. Coming to today's second talk of this 5th season, we are honored and privileged to have veteran Air Marshal Anil Khosla, PVSM, AVSM, VM, former Vice Chief of Air Staff. He is an ace fighter pilot who has to his credit over 4,000 hours of accident-free flying, mainly on different variants of Jaguar, MiG-21 and Kiran aircraft. In his illustrious career, he held very important staff appointments at higher ranks like Vice Chief of Air Staff, Air Officer Commanding-in-Chief of Eastern Air Command, Director General Air Operations, and Senior Air Staff Officer, Central Air Command. He, during his tenure, deftly handled Doklam operations with China and Balakot strike against Pakistan. He is an alumnus of National Defense College and has had the distinction of standing first in the order of merit in all the attended courses, be it the Flying Instructor course, Fighter Strike Leaders course, or Staff course. He has worked extensively with the Army and the Navy and was associated with number of government ministries and agencies including NTRO, DRDO, ISRO, NDMA, and Defense PSUs. Air Marshal Anil Khosla holds 2 MPhil degrees on Defense and Strategic Studies and is pursuing his PhD on China. He is a widely acclaimed speaker on military and strategic issues and has delivered various lectures on a wide range of topics, be it on air power, leadership, or geopolitical issues at different forums. He is a distinguished fellow at United Services Institute and Center of Air Power Studies. He is on the editorial board of College of Air Warfare Journal and is working with number of think tanks and organizations. Now I request veteran AVM Pranay Sinha, VSM, moderator of the session, to take the program further. Viewers, for your information, AVM Sinha is trained on MiG-21, MiG-23BN and Su-30 aircraft, and during his 35 years of distinguished career, he has held various important field and staff appointments. Post-retirement, he was advisor to Bharat Electronics for 3 years, and at present, for the last 2 years, he is engaged as a strategic advisor to IIT Mandi. He is instrumental in conceptualizing and organizing this flagship series, Thus Spake Generals. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Jai Hind viewers, and thanks, madam, for information of all. Madam Sumitra Goenka is Director Rating Tech, CEO Triangle Global, and the strongest pillar of strength of CKS India. So viewers and listeners on other medias, please get set ready to hear a very interesting talk today. And before I invite the learned speaker of the evening to understand the strategic evolution of IAF, let me contextualize in a minute this topic. For info for all viewers, what I was saying that we are the oldest independent air forces, older than US and German and even French air forces, because most of these countries' air forces were formed out of the army. And during World War II time, the air arm was mainly used as tactical air force, mostly to support land-bounded army that aimed to win territory. It was employed as territorial air defense and as support arm to the land forces to meet their immediate logistics and tactical needs. But Indian Air Force was formed as independent air force in 1932, and with its rich 91 year of historical legacy, still has not been able to articulate well its combative power, which is inherently offensive in nature, and as emerging aerospace power to the media and public at large. Today, therefore, there is a need to tell you all about the air power strategic story. What makes it a unique, distinct, disruptive force? It is its speed, it is mobility, it is its agility, its rapid reaction capability, not limited by continental terrain or maritime realms, but it exploits the air and space over it that are in continuum. The ability of air power is to concentrate its destructive firepower application of its offensive lethality, coupled with surprise and shock effect that enables to dominate the war scenario to achieve countries' national and security objectives. Air power is also very versatile because the same platforms, whether fighters, transports, helicopters, or even remotely piloted aircrafts, can be used in a wide variety of kinetic and non-kinetic applications in war, peace, as well as in gray zone. It has trans-domain operational capability. But knowledge of when and where to employ air power is more important. USA failed its strategic bombing employment in Vietnam, but dominated the war scenario in Gulf War. Another misconception on air power employment is that it is escalatory in nature, which was busted by our present political leadership when 2 aircraft airstrike was permitted well inside territory of a nuclear-armed neighbor to send a firm, coercive political message. Therefore, to understand the doctrinal evolution of Indian Air Force, its challenges and future trajectory, viewers, let's turn to the air power practitioner himself, our erudite speaker of the evening, former Vice Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Anil Khosla. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, first of all, Center of Knowledge Sovereignty, for calling me, and thank you, Sumitra ma'am, for kind words you said about me, and thank you, AVM Sinha, for giving me this opportunity once again. Very, very important topic of Indian Air Force evolution. It's 9-decade-old journey, and starting with a very humble beginning with a handful of assets and very tactical in nature, like AVM said. And now it is the 4th largest numerical strength-wise and 3rd strongest as far as the strength is concerned, that is the air power capability is concerned. Now it has become a multi-domain warfare capability it has. So what I'll do is, time is short. I will take you through this journey and I'll divide it into three parts. One is the past, present, and future. In the past, I'll just quickly browse through the historical progression, and also I'll spend some time on the doctrinal evolution. That will give you a idea of how the Air Force has evolved till now, and present challenges and future trajectory. So I'll have to go slightly fast because I have to, squeeze in 150 years into 30 minutes. That is 5 years per minute. So I will just be tagging few of the issues and looking forward to interactive session, which I really enjoy in all my talk. That is the most educative and most useful session, part of the session. So Air Force history, or Indian Air Force history, is in tune with the aviation, which is history, which is not very long. It is 1903 when the first heavier than air flight took place by Wright brothers. 120 feet they flew and 12 seconds were in the air. And from there, the air power utilization has increased so much that potential was, understood, and it became a different service within a very, very short time. The first time when the air power was used for visual recce, with the pilot just remembering whatever he's seeing. A grenade was thrown in the ground to air attack mode, and pistols were shooting at each other. With a pistol was the air to air combat. That's how it started. And look at where we've reached. Nowadays, the platforms, the aerial platforms are compact, they're packed with computing power. And the systems are so modern, so intense that the roles which they can do is really mind-boggling. So it has changed the nature of warfare totally. It has changed the meaning of firepower, the meaning of mobility, meaning of freedom of surface forces to operate. It has, touched every aspect of warfare, and its effect has been very, very profound. Actually, the relevance of the air power, the potential of the air power, the applicability of the air power is very complex and difficult to understand and comprehend. It has still got so much of potential which can be tapped. So as far as the Air Force is concerned, as AVM Sinha said, that it has evolved over the years, depending on the changes in technology, depending on the changes in the doctrines, depending on the changes or the priorities of the country. And the genesis was established in 1932 as an auxiliary air force to the Royal Air Force, and it was called Royal Indian Air Force. 4 Wapiti aircraft, 5 pilots, and a handful of Hawaii Sipai airmen. It grew to about 10 squadrons by World War II, and the primary focus was air support to ground forces. A very, very tactical role. Okay, during partition in 1947, the meager resources were further split, and 7 squadrons came to India with 6 fighters and 1 transport aircraft squadron. Okay, soon after the partition, the war took place with Pakistan in 1947, the first Indo-Pak War. And with the beginning of the war itself, a full infantry battalion was airlifted and subsequently sustained roles like recce, ground attack, interdiction. They were all tactical roles and in a sort of a reactionary mode. That was the utilization in the first war. After the war, anyway, lessons were learned, and I call it the first growth period. That is in 1950s. So a lot of new aircraft were inducted, new systems were inducted, both quantity and quality were improved. First jets came into, fighter jets came into the Indian Air Force, and new transport aircraft came into the Indian Air Force. Indigenous development of platforms and aircraft and weapon systems started. That is the beginning of the whole thing. The focus shifted from defending borders and aerospace to more roles than to capability beyond support role. That is the beginning of the change which took place. Thereafter, 1962 Indo-China War. The China had very old Russian aircraft, and the IAF had modern Western aircraft, and it definitely had an edge. However, the offensive application was not utilized of the air power. Mindset, as AVM Sinha said, the fear of escalation. And this mindset carried on for quite a few years. Even in Kargil, if you notice, we fought with one hand tied behind our back. I'll come back to it subsequently. The whole myth was broken when Balakot strike, the bold decision was taken to use the air power to go deep inside and carry out a strike. That is when the myth was broken. Okay, so post 1962 war, the deterrence value, it was decided to increase the deterrence value. Then that is when it was decided that the authorized strength would be 42 and required would be 45, or so those studies were done. Actually, you can say thanks to Chinese that the enhancement started. I actually thank Chinese now also. They have taken us out of the slumber in the last 4 or 5 years with their activities and actions and aggressive and nature and behavior. And a lot of things which were not moving have started moving now. So in one way, we can thank them for getting us out of this thing and putting us into higher gear as far as defense preparedness is concerned. Okay, next we come to 1965 war. In this case, the air superiority or the airspace was not contested. There was no IAF versus BAF. Both the air forces were, just doing missions in support of the army offensive or defensive. It was totally in support of army armored thrust, basically. And post 1965, again, lessons were drawn that the capability and capacity needs to be enhanced and accelerated the process. And we reached about 39 squadrons by 1971 when the next war took place. And also after 65 war, the focus shifted, priority shifted, air defense became, then support to surface forces. Offensive action became one of the focus areas. 1971 war, the quality and quantity wise, IAF was in a very good shape. And it was classic use of air power. It was the first air war where the airspace was contested. Air superiority was achieved in the eastern sector. Campaigns were carried out in parallel like the way it should be in the air warfare. The employment was in all roles and capabilities and tasks. And it was a good application in synergy with the surface forces, and even strategic application of the air power was carried out. And the results, So after 1971 war, the second modernization and expansion phase took place. This was from 1980 onwards. And this is where I personally witnessed. I had joined service by then. And a lot of modern aircraft, Jaguars, Mirage 2000, MiG-29, MiG-23, IL-76, AN-32, MiG-17 helicopters, advanced weapons, sensor, strategic airlift capability. I mean, a lot of expansion and modernization took place. And also along with it, we had the opportunity of power projection abroad, although not very far, but close to neighboring countries, Sri Lanka and Maldives, and a couple of HADR. Now we go all over the world for HADR situations and exercises. Sri Lanka, we assisted them. We formed the air bridge. Fighter aircraft were used only for strategic coercion and signaling purposes, but the helicopters did a wonderful role in the Sri Lanka. Op Cactus was, thousands of miles away. We reacted very fast and provided support to them. Then came 1999 Kargil operations. As I said, we fought with hand tied behind the back because a lot of restrictions were put. And, you'll not cross the borders, you will stay this side. And whenever you put restrictions on air power, or if you don't use the air power properly, you pay in terms of achievement of objectives, in terms of time, in terms of cost, in terms of value of human life, as well as platforms and system. Okay, then 2000, latest was 2019 when Balakot operation took place, which was a copybook operation, very bold decision. And the two myths which are broken were that the air power is not escalatory as perceived. And secondly, under the nuclear umbrella or cyber rattling, there is a scope for conventional operations. Anyway, the Balakot message was very, very clear and it yielded results. So if you see the historical perspective from 1932 to now, from a tactical support role, we went into parallel and effect-based operations and parallel operations of all campaigns. Then we went into strategic realms with the increase in reach and situational awareness with the AVAX, force multipliers, air-to refueling, deterrence. And now we have reached a stage where we are totally strategic, broad spectrum, all multi-domain warfare capability with a whole lot of capabilities and capacities. So that was a historical perspective. I spent a few minutes on doctrinal evolution. There are three doctrines which have been published by Indian Air Force. The first one was in 1995. It was the first service to formulate a doctrine. And it was a very, very basic doctrine. It covered what are the air assets, what are the tasks, what are the campaigns, what is air power, theory of warfare, characteristics, all these aspects it covered. But it also laid emphasis on the offensive use of air power, the role of technology in air power, and the role of force multipliers like AVAX and air-to-air refueling, etc. And very important, it gave a thought to the network-centric operations. So 1995 was the first this thing. Then after 17 years, 2012, the second version of the doctrine came out. This doctrine was a bit more exhaustive, and it linked air power with the overall national security. And it covered full spectrum, that is all the roles, including even diplomacy, defense diplomacy. And the flavors of this doctrine were that the air power can contribute in all sort of operations, even in subconventional, that is counterinsurgency and counterterrorism, which the country is facing. And it also emphasized on the enabling characteristics of air mobility, HAPTA support, special forces, casualty evacuation, HADR, etc. It also covered role of air power in national building, in diplomacy, perception management. Strategic significance of space was very, very important. The thought about utilizing the space started as far as warfare is concerned. And also it emphasized the maritime domain and the role of air power in maritime domain. It was a very, very holistic modernization. And you can say that this is the time when this decision was taken or thought was given to a holistic modernization of the Air Force in terms of transport aircraft, training aircraft, helicopters, force enhancers, modern weapons, space-based systems, air defense, infrastructure, electronic warfare, communication. I mean, all encompassing. This was a very turning point as far as this thing. Then latest is 2022 doctrine, which is last year promulgated after 20 years. That's the third one. And it covers, it basically theme is that air power has got much larger role than just territorial defense. And air power is heading toward aerospace power and greater utilization of space, exploitation of it towards achieving of national objectives. And also it covers, synchronization and integration with the defense, with the other forces, all the air power utilization to be in sync with the ground forces, military diplomacy, multilateral exercises, air power role in non-war conditions, kinetic and non-kinetic response, technology, effect of technology on various aspects of warfare, reach, flexibility, versatility, mobility, responsiveness, lethality, all encompassing. Then wartime strategy as well as peacetime strategy. It also covered up important aspects about situational awareness, networking, cyber, info warfare, electronic warfare, technologistics, administration, HR, training, every aspect of air power is covered in this. So that is how the doctrinal evolution took place. Okay. Coming to the second part, I'll just cover a few current challenges and strategies, which everyone knows that we have two nuclear-powered inimical nations, neighbors, and we can't do much about it. Pak is basically an irritant. China is a challenge, but the collusive threat that is between Pak and China becomes the problem. Okay. As far as China is concerned, I'll not go into more detail. You can talk hours on these topics. So I will just tag a few issues as far as China is concerned, because I say China is the main challenge. And it is modernizing and expanding at a very, very fast rate and in a very, very controlled manner. So basically the flavors of Chinese modernization, military modernization is, firstly, it is achieving expeditionary capability with giving more imports, more power, more role and to Navy and the Air Force, more expansion. It is expanding all its military with technology infusion. In certain technological developments, have overtaken even USA. It's reorganization for future of warfare. It has formed a separate service called Joint Services, Joint Strategic Support Force, JSSF, which covers all four domains of new warfare, that is cyber, space, info, and electronic, under one head and one service. It has formed a different service altogether, like Army, Navy, Air Force. It is mastering the art of gray zone warfare. which we call these days non-kinetic warfare or multi-domain warfare, gray zone warfare, no war, no peace. Various names, various lexicons are being used. But basically, China has mastered the art of converting everything and anything into weapon. Then the most important part of their modernization is the military and civil fusion, whole of government approach, which we keep talking about. And most important part has got a very, very robust defense industry. So that is where China's flavor of China's modernization is concerned. So to deal with the challenges at the moment, Indian Air Force also has various strategies. Although numerically at the moment our strength is very low, come down to around 30 odd squadrons, which is not a very healthy state, whereas authorized is 42. And if you do a study now for what will be required to current challenges, maybe it will come out to much more than even 45, which was envisaged quite a few decades back. Okay, but we have to get back this numerical strength in a gradual manner. And the action has already started, but we need to go into slightly higher gear. As far as dealing the situation is concerned, Air Force always has two strategies. One is to fight a war as if today with whatever we have, and second is the future trajectory where we should be heading. As far as current challenges are concerned, the Air Force is following an integrated conceptualization strategy. That is, whatever assets are there to be used in a very, very cost-effective method and in synchronization with surface forces. The resource allocation and monitoring and execution of the war will be more central. The Air Force follows the policy of centralized planning and decentralized execution, but with limited resources, the role of air headquarters or role of the command headquarters will be much more as compared to otherwise. Then upswing force concept, where certain forces can be swung from left to the right or from one side to the other side. So a lot of work needs to be done to materialize these swing force concept. Effect-based operations is another strategy where you use the air power assets very, very intelligently, where the maximum, that means you hit where it hurts. And protection of own assets is very, very important. So these are various strategies. Actually, each is a topic in itself. And okay, now I will go into third part of the talk, future trajectories, which is more interesting. And I have tagged about 7 or 8 areas where we need to work on. First is, as China has done, and is doing, we need to induce technology in big way in Air Force. As it is, the Air Force is a very, very technology intensive service. You can walk and swim on the ground and water without technology, but you cannot fly without technology. And technology gestation period is very, very long. It takes long for converting the technology into capability. So, the things which are technology-wise, hypersonics, AI, robotics, nanotechnology, UAV, unmanned platform, drone swarms, networking, Internet of Things, systems of system approach. So these are the various things, stealth technology, which we need to spend money on, which India has started doing research on. But we need to get both military use as well as civil use in parallel. Okay, second is situational awareness is very important, and decision-making processes. So space-based assets for situational awareness is very, very, networking is very, very important. AI-based systems are very, very important. Okay, the unmanned platforms are coming big way into all domains, land, water, underwater, sea, air. And, as far as the air is concerned, drones and swarms are coming in a big way. While they are coming in, there are a whole lot of procedural issues. You need to give freedom for the good drones to operate, and you need to curtail the freedom of bad drones to work. Then anti-drone systems is another area. Then utilizing the manned and unmanned platform together is another area which is developing. It's called loyal wingman concept. I call it mother goose concept, where a manned aircraft is leading on the unmanned platforms along with it to carry out a required objective in a synchronized manner. India has also started, HL has announced its combat air teaming system, and work is already on. Hypersonics, we must have heard all the countries are doing research, hypersonic weapons, and they're changing the war, they'll change the warfare totally. If your projectile or the weapon is coming at you 5 times the speed of sound, you can imagine what kind of reaction time do you need. You need radars, you need anti-AD weapons which can intercept them far, far away. So the whole concept of warfare will change with this. Okay, the new domains of warfare is very, very important. Learning from China, cyber space, info, electronic. We need a little bit of reorientation, reorganization to deal with these threats of gray zone warfare. Okay. Space-based, we have already talked about that. Space has got a lot of potential and we need to tap that. This thing, defense diplomacy, defense forces have got a lot of role, and Air Force, if you notice, recently has announced a multilateral exercise. We have been doing bilateral exercise quite a bit. Time has come where we start doing multilateral exercises with a lot of nations. Not only, and I will say 2 steps further, multilateral exercises with a lot of nations, multi-service exercise, or Army, Navy, Air Force together, and multi-domain exercise. So it should be multilateral, multi-domain, and multi-service exercises we should get into. Defense industry, we need to boost up self-reliance, integration, indigenization. Make in India is very, very important. A lot of steps have been taken under 17 odd vertical heads, and this lesson has also come out from the Ukraine war. Self-reliance is very, very important. Unless we have a robust defense industry, we cannot increase our deterrence value or increase our military power. So these are the future areas where we need to work on. Work is already started, but we need to spend money on it. We need to give it a thought. We need to give it a direction, and we need to introduce a lot of technology, and we need to go into slightly higher gear to reap these benefits out of these future-looking systems. So with that, I have finished what I had to say, and thank you for the patient hearing. And I think we will go into Q&A session, which I really look forward to, and I enjoy more in these sort of discussions and talks. So, AVM Sinha, sir, all yours.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thanks for explaining the evolution of the strategic Air Force. And today, when the Air Force is emerging as a aerospace power, a lot of questions have come on this space domain. In fact, many people have asked. So I will just say the first I will take from the, co-host Madam Sumitra is asking, with the expanding space assets and with the new advancement in the space domain, shall we go for a dedicated space force? And what this advancement, technical advancement, technological advancement going to impact the Air Force, sir?
Yeah. So thank you. Very nice question. 2 questions in one is whether we're going for dedicated space force and technology. So I'll go other way around. I'll answer the second one first. Always, it happens that way somehow. As far as technological advantages or the effect on IAF is concerned, actually space is permeated into every aspect of human life. If you take civil life, I mean, space-based systems are being utilized in medicine and traffic management and exploration and mining and looking at disaster relief and postal services and communication. I mean, you name it, the space-based systems are taking communication. Similarly, in defense also, you have space-based systems for situational awareness. You have space eyes in the sky. You can not only have visual pickup, but you have also in the other realms of radar and infrared and other things. Communications in a big way, navigation in a big way, targeting in a big way. So, I mean, every realm of fighter, war fighting, as well as especially for the Air Force, it is permeated into. So, second aspect of the warfare is related to, space is assets being used as a weapon and their protection. So anti-satellite weapons, most of the countries have already demonstrated that in the space, the countries which are ahead in space, I would say space race or something, India has also done that. So, protecting your satellites and things like that. So third aspect of space is utilizing platforms which use the medium of space. Like I said, hypersonics. So they use we have ballistic missiles also. But the hypersonics, the difference is that they not only use the medium of the space, but they are also maneuverable as against the ballistic missiles. And they're very high speed as well as maneuverable. So the trajectory is not so predictable as the ballistic missile. So that makes it more difficult for them. So these are the three ways in which the space affects the air warfare. Now, coming to a separate force, I think at the moment it is too premature to have a separate force as a this thing, because everything is enmeshed with each other. And secondly, I don't think we can afford also that kind of having a separate force altogether. However, a separate satellites are already being allocated for use only by the military. But once again, when you do these, then you have to have a protection system for them. So to my mind, space as a separate service might, or a separate force might come up way ahead in future. Even China has put actually space, cyber, intelligence, and electronic, as I said, under one service. And the reason for that is that you cannot isolate space warfare totally. It is enmeshed with cyber, it is enmeshed with electronic, it is enmeshed with info warfare. So that is why they put all four into one. And I feel that it's a good model. Even USA is studying the China model to revamp or reorganize they had a separate space command altogether. Okay, next aspect is the services had put up a proposal for space command, separate space command, tri-service nature. Way back, we are at the moment in the phase 2 of it, where the space division has been formed, tri-service. Okay, dealing with the space assets and space warfare thing. So the third phase of that is forming a special space command as such. That is where we stand at the moment. But as I said, USA had space command for quite a few years, but they are finding the Chinese model slightly better, and they are also thinking of reorganizing a bit to in the reverse. That is the aspects related to space and space warfare.
Yes, sir. The next question is also somehow intermixed with this both aspects, cyber and space. The question is, I could not get the viewer's name. The question is, cyberspace challenges can we take on? Are we prepared enough? And another aspect, he is linking that this with the Chandrayaan 3 and the Surya and the L1 and the new our launches. Are we learning this? Are we drawing any lessons for Air Force or space power from these launches, especially the space launches? Sir, any thought on this?
Yeah.
Cyberspace and the lessons being learned from the Chandrayaan and the other type of experience.
Yeah. Okay. So as far as challenges is concerned, as I said, I mentioned the word gray zone warfare. So gray zone warfare is basically a zone where activities. The peace doesn't mean there is the peace-like situation doesn't mean that there's no war, and war. Even if you don't not have declared war, doesn't mean that hostile action is not going on. That is what is gray zone. And space and cyber are the ideal domains, along with electronic, of course, for carrying out these activities. Like cyber activities, cyber attacks. There's always a deniability. People, if you blame somebody, they can always deny it. Okay, no, it has not been carried out by us. But they are doing hostile action through the same. Now, as far as challenges is concerned, yes, we have infrastructure in place. Okay, that is one. Secondly, it is an ongoing process. New tools, new weapons, new attacks, new methods will always keep coming up, and counters will have to be developed. And also, you have to be, one step ahead. So my take on these is that yes, challenges we are doing, but we need to organize it in a better way. I have a model which I have been saying that we need to have a model at 3 levels. One is, individual 3 service level, and not only 3 services, I would say even other, let's say banking sector, or you say postal sector, or you say industry sector, or you say aviation sector. They should have an organization of their own to deal with these attacks. In terms of various methods are there. I don't have to go into all those details. Second, we need to have a system where we have a tri-service level, okay, at headquarter IDS level. And third, we need to have at national level. We have some structures at different levels, but we need to formalize them and we need to integrate them into a cohesive course. Second, which I say is that we need to have a obscure sort of concept for all these domains, where all these domains are monitored 24/7. Okay, and also monitored in the sense if there is some sort of unusual activity going on to identify it, and sort of a QRT concept so as to react quickly before it leads into disaster. Third thing I think we should go into is a sort of R&D wing, which keeps an eyes and ears open for the new developments, new sort of weapons which are coming up in these domains, and all sort of new sensors, new this thing, and be proactive in finding this thing and being analyzing them and being proactive to see that where all can the it's a sort of audit, keeping your eyes ears open and looking at the future. That sort of organization working along with it. So these are the two suggestions I have. Now coming to the second, definitely we have learning lessons out of all these activities. They all missed. So when we launch satellites, when we fire rockets, it is not only the rocket or the satellite which is going in. We are learning how to make satellites. We are making our own satellites. We are making use the satellites for various, as I covered earlier, this thing for various uses in every field. Then rockets also we are using for our missile systems and as I said, hypersonic and the ballistic missiles program. So everything which you do, whatever money you're spending, you're always learning lesson and you're always gaining from it. Not only for warfare, but also for civil use, that is civil as well as military use. However, in my opinion is that so far, the first technology has been coming into civil use, and then as a byproduct, it is coming into military use. I think parallel processing needs to go on, where the civil and military use is progressed in parallel. That is what required to be done, and that is what China is doing in a big way. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Another question is coming again. It is on space-based warfare. The question already you have answered, but the next question is interesting. He is saying that in USA and other places, the publics are allowed to participate in activities like hackathon, and especially in US, where they can possibly participate and can try to jam your missile system or your possible cyber asset. So are we allowing such thing in Indian Air Force?
Yeah.
For that matter, sir. Yeah.
Even if you are allowing, I will not be able to say that.
Well, yeah.
And these are my opinions.
Offensive. He is asking, are we building, let's put it another way, are we building offensive cyber capability? Yes, sir.
Yeah.
On that, if you want to send.
Yeah. So I'll not be able to directly comment on the.
Yeah. True. So I will take another question, which is again coming with and our Dharmveer, the regular viewer. He is asking why it is problematic. We are always having our command control service centric structure. The army has got its own and the Air Force its own. Why can't we have combined? What are the reasons? Probably he's hinting towards theater and also, sir. Any thought on the command control between the three services, sir?
Yeah, okay. So just 30 seconds I'll spend on the previous question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Not the direct answer. Yeah, you're right. USA, a lot of public. So what has happened is, in India, the defense industry has been dominated by DPSUs and public sector, and private participation has been lacking. But if you see recently now, the private participation is being encouraged in terms of aircraft manufacture, in terms of a whole lot of other defense equipment and systems. So similarly, even if you see drones now, a lot of private practitioners are being encouraged to come into drone market and making drones and anti-drone systems. And so similarly, even space has been open to public participation. If you notice the government policy of opening the space to public. So public participation is coming in a big way, and I'll leave it at that at the moment as the question is concerned. Okay, coming to the next question, about command and control.
Yes,
So,
sir.
yeah. So, three services have their different roles, their different tasks, their different identity, and their different way of working. The way of working is also quite different. That is very necessary to understand. Like Army works top to down, from Army headquarters to command headquarters to corps to div to brigade to battalion. Whereas in the Air Force, it's the other way around. It is centralized planning and decentralized execution. So there is a difference in working also. Okay. So command and control structures which are evolved for the three services are depending on their roles and tasks and their way of working over the years. But the warfare is changing and there is a need to have greater integration, greater fusion, greater jointness. So what has happened is like we have formed Andaman Nicobar Command, but we carried on for all these years with a separate way of working as far as a whole lot of things are concerned. Administration is concerned, legal is concerned, even discipline is concerned. But now things are changing. Now the bills have been passed where you have a common way of looking at land, common way of dealing with discipline cases, common this thing. So that is what is happening now at the moment. Now, as far as if you are hinting at theaterization, it's a different subject itself, and it's got. I mean, you can go on for hours together, and I have my personal views on theaterization. So
Yes.
it's not a problematic. It is a evolutionary process, and for the formation of headquarter IDS, I will say that in the last 5 years, things have progressed much more as far as this integrated command and control structure is concerned. The second aspect to this is, not only command and control, even the enablers like networking, DCN and fiber optic networks are in place for, having common command and control communications with all the three services. So things are moving, but yeah, of course, there is a lot of reorganization can be done and examples can be taken from various countries and tuned towards our requirement and our peculiarities and implemented.
Sir, question on women power. Women role in IAF, can they perform combative role?
Yeah.
Direct question from Sumitra madam. Yeah.
So just wait for a month or so. A detailed article of about 5,000 words I'm working on women in defense services and IAF in particular, covering the past history and the future trajectory and the performance and the issues related to about 10 to 12 issues of performance, command role, combat role, in terms of harassment or other issues and mitigation system, judicial intervention. All these issues will be covered in that article. It's about 5,000 word article. It's coming up. Okay, as far as the question is concerned, yes, Indian Air Force has already inducted women in fighter record. The lady women officers are already qualified on MiG-21.
Su-30 and
already got operational status, and they've gone into Rafale also now. So Indian Air Force has already inducted women in fighter team. Transport and helicopters they were flying earlier, and all other domains, as far as the technical domain is concerned, medical domain is concerned, and the administrative domain is concerned, accounts is concerned, logistics is concerned, they were already there. So that is what is happening. Another development which has taken place is even in the, not only in the officers cadre, now the Agniveer, even women have been inducted in the Agniveer as a non-officer cadre. And even in India, the women are there undergoing training, and also Sainik schools and have started inducting girl cadets. So that is where women power is heading.
Sir, pertinent question was that can they perform combative role? So on their performance, vis-a-vis male, you want to.
Well, if they can't perform, then Indian Air Force wouldn't have taken them in the fighter stream. I mean, it's not a showpiece that they've been taken in the Indian Air Force in the fighter stream for a show purposes. No, sir. They can perform. That is why it has been taken. They've been taken. Yeah, of course.
So that rests so that.
Fitness standard had to be maintained. The performance has to be maintained. There's going to be no compromise as far as that is concerned. And there is no going to be any concession as far as that you're women. That's why you can perform at a lower level. No, sir. There is a certain amount of performance which is required to be current, to be effective, to be potent, in that combat role. So long as you maintain, will be there. Same thing happens with the males also. It's not that the women are being this thing. You medically become unfit, if you have some issues and you cannot perform, then you are sidelined to some other role. So same thing. So performance has to be maintained. There's no compromise on that, and they can perform, and that is why they have been taken into the fight.
Sir, another question is coming on Tejas Mark A. Can it perform dogfight with the 5th generation aircraft? A dogfight which is obsolete. You want to comment on the dogfight which is already obsolete? Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So what happens is, dogfight is a term which was used in yesteryears, where, if
Yes,
you've
sir.
seen the movie, Tom Cruise movie, where the dogfight is shown very well. Now the second version has come out. So that is, visual combat with the weapon, which is either guns or with a small range missile. Now it's gone into BVR combat.
BVR.
And it's all system intensive. You don't even see the enemy. All you see is a blip, and you identify with the system that is hostile blip, and you assign this thing, and the weapon control system, which has got a lot of computing power, it takes on. You got a BVR missile which has got 100, 150, 200 kilometers, and that's how the combat takes place. So dogfight is actually a wrong word. Now coming to Tejas Mark 1A. So Tejas project is a very old project which has started as a replacement for MiG-21 air. Now, due to whatever delays took place, and the aircraft has also evolved. Okay, it's not that it has stayed there to whatever was perceived that time. Although the project got delayed earlier, but now it has picked up pace. And there were a lot of shortcomings in Tejas Mark 1. That is why Tejas Mark 1A came up. And a lot of these problems, about 43 odd issues were there. Most of them have been sorted out. And Tejas Mark 1A, which 83 aircraft already contract has been signed. And recently, if you heard the news, that Chief has declared that 100 more will be bought. Tejas Mark 1As. It is considered, this Mark 1A is considered as fourth generation aircraft. And Tejas Mark 2 will be 4.5 generation, and AMCA, which is supposed to be 5th generation aircraft. Okay. Now, as far as combat is concerned, it's a holistic combat. It is not that, one aircraft against the other. If you see the combat, there'll be 70, 80 aircraft in the air. Similarly, on the other side, it's a large package. It has got all sort of aircraft. It has got AVACs, it has got refuelers, it has got eyes in the sky, it's got controlling aircraft, it has got supporting aircraft, it has got jamming aircraft, it has got aircraft which has an AD role, it has got aircraft in offensive role. So Tejas will fit into the whole gambit of it. And any force needs an ideal combination of quality and quantity. And Tejas Mark 1A and subsequently Mark 2, they will provide the quantity. Which is earlier it was MiG-21s, which were the mainstay of the Indian Air Force. Now it is 230. So the quantitative requirement will be filled. My personal take is 114 aircraft project for MMRCA or MFR, whatever you call it, should not die down. If we can't afford all of them, at least some more high performance aircraft is required till the time we get our AMCA online. That is our own 5th generation aircraft. While covering this, it is very important that we have our own self-reliant defense industry. Very important. It's got a lot of benefits. Latest technology, integration of our own weapons, cost, not relying on others, the close not getting tapped when at the crucial moment, increasing our capability of ramping up the production. I mean, there are a whole lot of advantages as far as that. So Tejas Mark 1A will fit in the bill and as a replacement of, and anyway, Air Force always have a mix of 3 types of aircraft. A modern, state-of-the-art, latest aircraft, maybe 30%, another 30 to 40% medium-level technology, and 20 to 30% old technology, which is there. This ratio is always there. I mean, you cannot afford to have a state-of-the-art, latest aircraft all the time, all throughout. So that is how Tejas Mark 1A will fit into the overall gambit of the air power of the Indian Air Force.
Sir, another related question on 5th generation aircraft from the Setu is whether we are going to revive the died down FGFA project, sir, the 5th generation with the joint Russian, or we are going only for AMCA, sir.
Yeah. So, first of all, I'm not privy to the decisions of the government of the Indian Air Force. I retired 4.5 years back, and I've got I'm not privy to those decisions. So whatever are my personal views, whatever I gathered from the media and open media, open sources, and my further analysis. Okay, whether we'll revive FGFA, why FGFA went, why it didn't work out because of various reasons, things like cost sharing, the delays, and then technology transfer and sharing of technology. There are a whole lot of issues. I think that's why the whole thing died down. Now, if we are going ahead with our 5th generation aircraft, it will not be prudent to go back to an old this thing which we already got away from. Even if you remember Aero India last, when Americans came out with F-35, a lot of speculation came up in the media. Will India go for F-35 and what will happen to its SAMCA and things like that? There are various reasons F-35 couldn't have come into the Indian Air Force. One of the reasons was that we are developing our own 5th generation aircraft. It's pointless buying this aircraft at the moment. Secondly, can't afford it. There is another important aspect related to the whole gambit of it. That is, we have been, whatever you say, our defense industry as far as aircraft production is concerned, we have produced a lot of trainers, we have produced HF Maruts, we have produced Tejas now. We have learned, we have progressed, but it is moving slower than what is. We are doing leapfrogging, but the leapfrogging has not worked that well so far. So when that happens, because we are trying to develop all the technology ourselves, which is not very, it's just a slow process. It's not an easy process. And especially Indian technology, very few countries have, and they're reluctant to partner. So what I'm getting at is that while we are trying to develop 5th generation aircraft and we're trying to give a boost to our industry, we will need external help. Whether that help comes from Russian Western side, Eastern side bloc, or whether it comes from Western side, from USA and other Western countries, is the question. It depends on a whole lot of things like geopolitics, the cost, the technology sharing. Now, if you notice, both the blocs are trying to woo India for self-reliance, make in India, and they're offering technology transfer and things like that because they're eyeing the market. They know the market exists. So we will have to play our cards well. As our Foreign Minister, Defense Minister has said that we need to get maximum bang for our buck, and we need to get these technologies where help can be given to develop RNC. And it will be interest of these countries to boost up India for their regional or the global aspirations, to boost up India and the Indian defense industry by assisting them by technology transfer of these crucial this thing. Even when Prime Minister went to USA, a lot of speculation was there that contracts will be signed and what sort of technology transfer will take place. If you remember, in the media also it came. So that is where we stand. That is our development of modern 5th generation aircraft, assistance from others in critical technologies, and the way forward.
So last question of the day, of the evening, it's again it's on the our capability of the Air Force. Can we take on two-front war? And Rosita is asking, she's very pertinent. She's saying the Chinese nuclear, they are also nuclear. Both the neighbors are nuclear armed. So can we take, the Air Force can take two-front war, sir?
Okay. So second part first, yeah, both are nuclear powered enemies. All three are nuclear powers, three of them. So nuclear domain, as I said, a nuclear war will be a disaster for not only countries but for the world. And we need to have a very mature view and mature outlook. It's a big deterrence, of course. And India has been very, very mature, if you notice, and is respected in the world for that, for maturity. We don't go around saber rattling all over like Pakistan does, that I got nuclear weapons and I got this thing. So we don't do the nuclear saber rattling, and we get respect for that. So notwithstanding that, we are also a nuclear power, so we'll keep nuclear out of the game. And as Balakot has shown that there is a scope for conventional skirmish or a fight below the nuclear threshold. Okay, now coming to the Air Force, as I said, Air Force always follows two strategies. One is fight with what you have at the moment, and second is that is as if the war is going to break out tomorrow. And second is the future trajectory where it should be heading to deal with the threats which are existing and which are likely to come up in the future. So these both plans get reviewed periodically, they get exercised periodically, and they are, not only reviewed, they are progressed together so that, they are always current and always move forward. So as far as two-front warfare, as I said, the fighter strength at the moment is low. Even our combat support aircraft like AVAX and AR and unmanned platforms and force multipliers, specialist weapons we have, the numerical strength is at the moment low. That means capability-wise, Indian Air Force has moved way, way ahead. Capability, when I say it's strategic airlift, precision capability, long-range capability. These are called capabilities, all-weather capabilities. Okay, capacity is war endurance. So at the moment, and capacity and capability both combined form the deterrence. So at the moment, our deterrence value is slightly lower than what it should be because of capacity, not because of capability. Capability-wise, we are way ahead. It is capacity which we need to listen. Bottom line is we need to spend money on defense forces, even at the cost of development and something else, to build up this capacity and build up this deterrence in the process. But we are always ready, and we are ready for any eventuality in case it happens. Those plans are.
Thanks, sir. Thanks for giving that assurance that we have the capability. And of course, capacity is always directly proportional to the money, and we can build that. That is not a big question. So thanks again, sir. Thanks for this wonderful talk. And may I request again, Madam Sumitra ji, to please propose the vote of thanks. Over to you, ma'am.
So I thank Air Marshal Anil Khosla, sir, for taking us through the journey of AIF and answering so many questions patiently. I thank AVM Pranay Sinha, sir, for moderating this session so beautifully. CKS also thanks all the members of audience for joining us and for their constant support. Next week on 3rd of September at 5 p.m., Lieutenant General PR Shankar will speak on civil-military fusion. So I hope to see you all again next week. Thank you everyone for your time.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you,
Marshal Sinha. And I enjoyed the interaction myself. And I just want to tell the viewers and audience, I have a blog. I have got about 375 posts now, and all the questions which are asked today have been addressed in some way or the other in these blogs. So if you're interested, I will share the blog with the Marshal, and you can pass it on if anybody subscribe to it. And all these questions have been addressed some way or the other. And today's discussion also, when I get time, I'll put it on the. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir.
Jai Hind.
Thank you, everyone.